Good job to have different body engagers. And oh yeah, how to utilize the 3 boards. Again, that's just, practice makes permanent with those. I always put them on the table, and if I have to flip through it, but the more and more you spell, the more natural it comes. But I always suggest to have them on the table and not your lap, so you can have that free and then have your hand for gestural prompts as needed. But 3 boards, are just used for the beginning and greens and spells. And once you have gotten through quite a few greens with very little mispokes and very little prompting, not too much gestural, then that's when you would move up to the 26. But moving up to the 26 isn't necessarily like, okay, we're on the 26, this is where we're going to be forever. You could do a few letters on the 26, jump down to the 3 as needed, but just know that you are going from minimal prompting to a lot heavier prompting because it's a new motor. Start with a few spells and then expect more of that gestural, and so on until you find a nice flow with greens and 0 prompts. And then you would do your semi-open questions with a couple choices, and hopefully the choices are far enough away from the side of the board, because with that you're not doing any gestural prompting until you know which word they're going to. And then for my notes, can he see the screen when being recorded? If so, I would try either covering the screen or flipping the camera, which is hard sometimes. They'll just get up and still find a way to look at the screen. I would scoot him back a little bit further so he can have that full range. Definitely cover half the board since he's so new, and just to take away that much more motor. If you want, you can text me. I can show you how I've taped a piece of paper that you can just flop up and down. Remember, we don't have to give the actual letter he's going to. Instead, be more direct with that gestural or directional prompt, and definitely try your best without having to say like, okay, go get the H. But great prompting overall. I liked the consistency, the continuation, but I do think covering half of the letters will really help with some of those mispokes. And also, I love how you were kind of knowing when to reset. You can put it on the side, reset his hand, but instead of physically touching, you can just kind of like hover over it, prompt him to reset. And always prompt, forward, back, in and out. Even sometimes with these busier bodies or newer / younger kiddos, I would just say spell half the word. And I love the lesson, the chocolate lesson I think was really good for his age. And I know it sounds backwards and seems tricky for him, but just always think the higher the cognitive, the better, the more that you're feeding the brain, the more engaged they are. And if ever you find a lesson and maybe the paragraphs are a little bit longer just because they're younger with the attention span, you can just break it halfway and then ask a couple questions. And always straighten out his chair so knees are facing forward. And instead of kind of, look, or what, do you know the first letter? Or, okay, what comes next? Instead of like asking questions like that, you can say things like, Just next letter is, go right to it. I know you know it. Go. First letter, on it. Great work, reading while he seemed to be a little more dysregulated. Just always push through, lower that tone. He can totally roam the room while you read. I always encourage that for his age, or something for him to work on or fidget with at the table. And yeah, just with the age or with anything, if you're spelling it as a keyword, then while you read, that's the only time that you have to say it. And whether or not he's heard that word today or that day, because you just read it and you spelled it, we know he knows it. So just, okay, we're gonna spell basketball, go. And yeah, I would just kind of stick with 2 or 3 words, maybe even shorten the words, cover half the board, really, really bring that motor demand down, and then read and just do 2 or 3 read. But overall, great work.